afternoon and welcome to A Great Place to Live in Spite of Itself. I'm Larry Strother. We're here to talk about Los Alamitos, Rossmore, all the greater community around here, all the happenings, all the things that once happened, should happen, are happening. With us is Warren Kusumoto, the mayor of Los Alamitos. How you doing, Warren?
I'm doing great, Larry. Thank you for letting me be here.
Should I, now that I've known you for a long time, should I now call you Mr. Mayor? Or,
No, please don't. Just call me Warren.
What do you make your kids call you?
Dad.
All right. What's it like being the mayor? Is it different than being a normal city councilman or what?
I think it's different. There's a lot more work, more hands-on than I had anticipated, but I am enjoying it, and I'm trying to help make a difference, positive difference.
I was curious, being on the council, have you had to change or reevaluate things that you thought were important and now seem to be going smoothly to you? I mean, are there certain positions you've had to reevaluate that you found you were wrong at when you came in?
No, I think it's still pretty consistent in terms of, you mean, positions, happenings going on. No, I think that the things are still the same. I do feel the council is working a lot better. Certainly, one of the things I was hoping to do is, getting the synergy of all of our individual talents and strengths and put it together and just make it create, something better than the individual parts. So I think we're succeeding at that.
What do you think is probably the biggest issue facing Los Alamitos right now?
Okay, right now, of course, it'll be the Cypress development. But before that, entering into the beginning of the year, it was getting our city attorney permanent hire in place. We still have to bring on a city manager, and we're working towards that. But I think our interim city manager is doing a wonderful job, and certainly servicing the council, very well.
You've been through now 3 city managers. I think Jeff Stewart was in.
Jeff Stewart, and
and then Angie.
Angie, and then now.
Do they all have different styles? I mean, is it different
Yes.
for you working with each different one?
I'll have to say I didn't really work closely with Jeff or Angie, so I don't really know their style in terms of how they manage the corporate part of the city. But I see with Greg, he's getting into it and hitting his stride, and I enjoy working with him.
There's a fine line between elected official, being involved, overseeing, doing your duty for the public who elected you, but also micromanaging.
Yes.
How do you walk that line?
Oh, I'm pretty clear as to where that line is. I would, at times where I would like to go to his staff, that is, I view it as his staff, and I'm very clear and upfront with him. I don't want to direct any of his people. That's his job to do. And I think we get along fine. And usually if I want to approach somebody, I'll make sure I let him know that I want to talk to Stephen Mendoza. I want to talk with Corey. And he's aware of that. And I'll let him know what I talked about, and I want them to share with what we talked about, because I don't want to be directive of anybody that reports to him.
You mentioned Cypress as a problem a little while ago. Why don't you explain, because a lot of people, there's a certain core who know about it, and I think probably there's still 50 to 60%, from my experience, who aren't quite sure what the issue is.
Well, the issue with Cypress is the development that they want to bring into our city. It's I guess the biggest thing to me is the impact on traffic, the traffic flow on Catella and the surrounding streets. And they're going to develop it, and there's no doubt about that, but what is the right development? Right now, as we understand the plan, it is they're calling it a office, light manufacturing, and distribution, I think is the word. And what it entails is 100 and some odd truck bays that will probably be used. So with that comes trucks, comes truck traffic. So we're just trying to make sure that we're watching it, and whatever input we have in the process, the CEQA and the EIR process, that we're there to get our input in there to make sure that the impact is minimal to our city.
A lot of people are throwing around the word Amazon, that they may be that may be a center for them. Have you heard that on a more serious
No,
note?
and I think there may be some speculation from members of the public. I think Prologis has a project up in Tracy, California, which is Amazon, and I don't know that that's one is the other over here. So,
I live in Rossmore, Los Alamitos and Rossmore. They're joined at the hip, whether they want to admit it or not. They are joined at the hip. They're probably sharing 75% of their services. Have you had a chance to just even ponder, think about what the two communities could still share together without a formal merger of anything? Is there anything that intelligently, logically, they could still do?
Oh, together? Well, I think the Parks and Recs is an example of that. Anything that the Community Services District and the Homeowners Association may want, we can certainly talk with them, but I view it as they should come and ask us. We shouldn't go and try and push anything. And so I think, as a city representative, I'd like to hear if there's something they would like from us and see how we can make it work. But I think it's got to be a win-win. It's good for them, it's good for us. If it's something that's going to cost the city, I don't know that I'd support that.
Is there a committee where people from Los Al are talking constantly with people from Rossmore, or at least on a regular, consistent basis, and also with Seal Beach? And
not that I'm aware of as a committee. There is the ad hoc, and I kind of lose track of who is on the ad hoc to deal with Rossmore issues. But I know we have that, but as far as I know, it has not been active.
Well, it's kind of complicated because Rossmore is Orange County, technically. I mean, the decisions are made in Orange County. The RCSD is there, and they service a couple small issues. But how is the county when you deal with them? Are they?
Well, it was interesting. You bring that up. I had a chance to go visit with John Morlock, Supervisor John Morlock, and we were talking about the school resource officer and how we are moving forward, and we're asking the county to help pay for that cost. And he is the county, and we are providing the protection and services for the Rossmore residents that have kids that go to our school, the school in our city. So that was my first dealings with Supervisor Morlock, and it was rather interesting. But I think it was a very good interchange. He explained he's unable to do what we want, and I think it was friendly. He was supportive of the idea of what we're doing, but he just said he doesn't know of any precedents where they would do something like that to pay for a police officer from Los Alamitos.
When I first heard about it, what came to mind for me is I remember just doing research. The swimming pool at the high school, which was not built by the high school, it was actually a bond issue that was started by people in Rossmore, and then Los Alamitos joined on, and people in College Park East did too. And they assessed themselves 25 cents, I believe it was, for a $1,000 evaluation. And it was a one-time bond issue, but it was that district, and that's how they paid for it. I mean, is that something that might be smart to do for?
Well, I'd be open to anything to get those, at least anything on the table to look at it. Something like that would be up to the voters, right? So, in this crazy world we live in, I think there may be a time where, we need to sit down and have that kind of talk. But it can't be, I think, forced on them by the city leaders. It'll have to be, I think, I'll say not quite at the grassroots, but perhaps an activist group that might go out there and propose that.
What's your real job?
I'm an engineer.
You're an engineer. I know this is probably most of your hours now, probably doing.
Not quite, but there's a lot of my spare time.
How does this job affect that? I mean, does it impact it a lot, or?
It has, but not a lot. Whereas before I might put in 50 or so hours a week of my work, I'm probably hitting about 40 consistently. Not able to do as much of the extra. But luckily, we're not as busy as we were maybe 5-6 years ago, so it's working out okay. Then what used to take up a lot of my time were my sons with the activities they had, the sports and the scouting. So they've gotten older. And
speaking of that, congratulations, Darren had his ceremony at the high school today, letter of intent for over at Occidental College.
Yes, to play basketball there. So yeah, he's very happy, very excited about going there. Thank you.
You guys were regular attendees at all the basketball games and wrestling mates.
Yeah, that's right. Those are fun. I think that's what's great about our community. The high school, the school district affords all these opportunities for all of our students in anything. It's whether it be sports or performing arts and all the extracurricular activities. You have a curriculum you offer over there for some of the students, right?
I was. I
okay.
don't.
Oh, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't have the time going back and forth.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the bad things was that the video couldn't be part of the California track, and a lot of the really serious video students want to get into UC Berkeley, and that's so those units didn't count for it, so it's unfortunate. So you missed out a lot of good students. One last question here. I was just thinking, what is the one thing you really want to accomplish most in the rest of your first term? Who knows if you're going to run for a second term?
Okay, so the rest of this first year, I think we're getting the city staff stable. We've got, again, one last big hire to make. The pieces are in place. The council, I think we're acting in a positive manner, again, working together. We have some big issues to go tackle. I'd like to make sure when I leave there's processes in place to make these things continue on, that we all look at our strengths. we all bring those to any of the decisions we make, and then we live with them, because I think that's one of the things. I can live with a decision if I'm on a 3-2 minority. If it's the will of the council, I'll live with that. So
as long as you get a fair hearing and a fair
chance to make my case. So that's what I hope that we'll accomplish by the end of this year.
All right, well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. It wasn't as bad as you thought, was it?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Warren.
Thanks.
All right, we'll be back. Brian Gorman, LAYB president, and we're going to talk about the World Series coming to Los Alamitos. Welcome back to A Great Place to Live in Spite of Itself. We're here with Brian Gorman, president of Los Al Youth Baseball, LAYB. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you got big things going on over the base this coming August, isn't it?
We certainly do. The beginning of August 1st through the 4th, we are hosting the Pony Bronco 12-year-old World Series. So we have the elite 12-year-olds from around the world playing in our facility in Los Alamitos.
How did that come to you? Did you have to go out and actively seek it? Because wasn't it in like Monterey for the last couple of years?
It's been in Monterey for the last 20 years. Monterey has been the host of that. And we had a smaller event at our facility last year, and we were fortunate enough to have Abraham Key, who is the CEO of Pony Baseball. They're out in Pennsylvania. He visited our facility to watch a game for some reason. We made contact with each other. I became friends with him. We showed him around. We took care of him for a couple of days, and now the series is ours.
So when does it exactly start?
The series itself starts the 1st of August, which is a Thursday, ends the Sunday. So it's only it's a 4-day event.
Oh, that's all?
That's all it is.
And how many teams come in?
We're having 8 teams, 6 of them, or actually 5 of them, throughout the United States, 1 of them from Mexico, 1 of them from Asia Pacific, and also 1 of them from the Caribbean. And they're coming in to play baseball in the United States. Big deal.
I know this is like a 2 14 pool setup?
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So like the College World Series?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly like that.
How many kids play Pony? Do you know, play the Broncos?
Yeah,
right
well, in Pony throughout the country, I don't know the exact number, in Pony baseball, they have close to 600,000 players in the league. In our division, or in our league, we have close to 800 kids, and in our Pony division, I believe we have 12 teams right now. So it's a very competitive bracket. The kids are really starting to develop. This is kind of a level where some kids drop off, where they figure they don't want to play baseball anymore, and they drop off. So most of the kids, at least in our experience in our league, are really good ball players from top to bottom.
Well, historically, the Los Al League has been really strong since its very first days. I think, Kirk, if you can put up the first photo here, it's like, I think this is Los Al Youth Baseball started as the Rossmore Little League, and this is 1958.
That's great.
Opening day, and that was over where the Rossmore townhomes are now.
That's great. That's a great photo. Leave it to you, Larry, to find that. So.
Well, I got that from Terry Messersmith, because her son, Andy Messersmith, remember,
right, of course,
Dodger and Angel, great pitcher,
right.
the guy who basically changed baseball in the free agency rule. He was the opening day pitcher.
Beautiful.
Pitched a no-hitter on that first day, too.
Yeah,
for the Rossmore Squires.
Rossmore Squires. All right. I live in Rossmore. I've lived there my whole life, so I certainly can appreciate that. We are a really competitive league. Out of the 3 leagues that are in the area, you have Seal Beach, you have St. Hedwig's, and you have our league, LAYB. I consider LAYB probably the most competitive league amongst those 3, if not in the entire area around here. East Long Beach has a very good program also, and they have some teams that always compete, always compete against us and other teams. So very competitive league. We look for competitive coaches, but also, number 1, positive environment for our kids. That's the number 1 thing.
Well, you're talking about competitive, and some of the quality of the players are just how many have made it to the major leagues. I think you look at your alumni. Yeah, I think there's like 8.
Yeah, we've
the
got.
count I had right
so
there.
we've got. We got who do we got here?
There's Andy Messersmith in the top, and
Right.
then Greg Harris.
Right. Greg Harris, his son, played also through LAYB. He's over at LaSalle now.
And there's Craig Chamberlain.
Craig Chamberlain,
No,
right
still in the
there.
area.
Still in the area.
Oh, excuse me. The second one there. That's Lamp.
Dennis Lamp. Dennis Lamp, very good pitcher. Yeah.
I get my mustaches mixed up there.
That's a big one right there. Yeah.
And then there's Greg on the top right.
Okay, Greg Harris. He teaches my son how to act. Greg Harris Sr. is my son's pitching coach, actually. JT down at the bottom there.
He's still up working for the Giants. Actually, he's doing the Pac-12 baseball games. I think.
He's doing something. And then Rob Nen. Hopefully Robbie will be coming down to the World Series, making an appearance, along with a couple other athletes, Brett Boone and Trevor Hoffman.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to be coming down. They're going to be there for a mini autograph session just for opening day. So it'll be exciting to have them there.
Well, then you have Mike Kelly, who was
Kelly.
the #1 overall draft pick out of
outfielder,
Arizona State and by the Mets. And then that's Greg Perkle.
Greg Perkle.
The legendary Greg Perkle had probably some of the longest drives ever hit there at the LAYB Park.
All great players, and some people who came out of there who played college, and Robbie Katzeroff and some other players who didn't go to the pros were really good baseball players.
Well, he
also.
still, I believe, holds the record at UCLA for the most triples.
That's right.
By a player.
He could fly, without a doubt.
No. A little trivia for Robbie Katzeroff. Only player he led Orange County in receptions as a senior in football. Like, he had 93. He led the county in goals scored as soccer, and he led the county in hitting.
Okay.
That's not a bad senior year.
Well, back then, that's how it was. That was a lot of these athletes, they played the sport for the season. And now, so much of the athletics in high school has changed to where you're a football player, you're a football player, you're a football player, you're a football player, or you play baseball. There's not a lot of multi-sport people.
What do you think about that personally?
I don't think that's a good thing necessarily. I think a kid should be able to experience as many different sports he wants to play and not be penalized for it. Of course, I'm not coaching at the high school level.
Right.
It's not my place to really say that, but that's my opinion.
Now we're talking, you're hosting the World Series. This is also the anniversary.
Correct.
Of a big moment in LaSalle Pony baseball, the Bronco League. 30 years ago, they won the...
Dave Scott, actually, along with his son, Mike Scott, who is a manager for me now, coaching his son and Dave's grandson, Kyle Scott. They won the World Series 30 years ago, and it was a big deal. We have if you come to our facility, you'll see we've had 3 World Series teams, and we have them all blown up into big pictures posted on our facility where you can see them, and they get the recognition they deserve.
I think I have a bad copy of a picture there, Kirk, if you can look for the World Series one.
That looks like a good copy to me.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, there they are, right there. Mike Scott has managed our Bronco World Series team last year and assisted me before I was president. I was managing it, and we've got a really good group of kids. And one of the benefits of hosting the World Series is our Bronco All-Star team will automatically receive a berth in there for being the host city. So if we can catch lightning in a bottle, we could bringing home not only hosting a World Series, but winning a World Series. You
know what the ironic thing about that photo there is that team lost 1 game in zone play, and then they had to replay that team in the zone championships, and they beat them, and that was the LaSalle American team. Wow. That's the LaSalle national team that made it and won the World Championship.
Players we had.
Yeah. So you had 2 All-Star teams in those days. So.
Right.
So how's it been being the Prez?
It has its challenging moments. Fortunately for me, I have a really, really good board behind me that doesn't do a lot of these things that I'm doing right now. Not on camera, doesn't get the name out there, but bust their tails for me, and they make it a lot easier for me to do my job. Without them, I could not do this, and I wouldn't do it. So.
Well, I've heard good things about the league. It's running smoothly. You got a parking lot where it's not so dusty now. So
that's right. You can wash your car and still come to the game and not worry about it. So yes.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing more, hearing more about the World Series coming up. I want to thank you for joining us, Brian.
I appreciate you having me out. Thank you.
And say hi to your mom.
I will for sure.
All righty.
All right. Thanks.
Bye bye. All right. We'll be back with Steve Mendoza, LaSalle Planning Director. I think it's Community Planning Director. We'll get his title right. Steve will let us know what's going on.
Right on.
Okay. Welcome back to A Great Place to Live in Spite of Itself. And I'm here with Steve Mendoza, Director of Community Planning and Public Works. Did I get it right?
Yeah, almost right.
All right. Well, what the heck. You can correct it. So, Steve, A lot going on around here.
A lot going around in this little town of ours in Los Alamitos, yes.
What's the latest? Every time I talk to you, you always got some new little thing going.
We've always have development. Properties, we seem to have a little boom in property development. Possibly the recession's loosening up, we're hoping, but we're seeing the number of permits rise, and we're seeing some economic indicators within our own community that lend us to believe that maybe the recession is over.
When the recession is at its nadir, how many permits were you getting for any construction? Like, were you down to like 5?
You get about
8?
one room addition a month. You know, we only have 1,900 single-family detached homes in our city, so you don't get a lot of them. But now we currently have over 18 homes being remodeled, completely demolished and rebuilt, or room additions right now in Los Alamitos alone.
What's like the historical high kind of average?
Probably at in the late 90s, there would be about 20 at a time, 25 at a time. So I think what we had is a pent-up demand of people needing to borrow equity, and now they're actually doing it.
How long have you been here now? What, like
4.5 years.
4.5?
Yeah.
And overall, so you've gone through some fun times.
Yeah, it's really fun. We've seen a lot of development go on in Los Alamitos. We've seen restaurants expand. Banks are about to be constructed. We've been through the hospital approval of their 3-phase development, and we're going to be seeing construction on that really soon. So very exciting times.
So, all right, explain the hospital, because I know people have asked me about it, and I've tried to explain. But basically, they're building a medical building and a parking structure, and that's the main thrust of it, right?
No, yes and no.
Okay.
That's the first phase.
You're being very polite to me. That's fine. Okay.
That's the first phase
Larry,
of
you
a
don't know what you're
3-phase
talking
development.
about.
It's 18 acres. The Los Alamitos Medical Center owns 18 acres.
Okay.
What we wanted to do was get a feeling for how they were going to develop that in the future. So what we asked them to do is to come up with their own specific plan, so the city can review that plan and know what the eventual build out of the hospital will be one day. So now we have them on a guided plan called a specific plan that will show their construction over the next 20 years.
Kirk, I think we have a shot there of the layout of the property.
The first two buildings are the medical office building and the parking structure. The first parking structure. The parking structure is a 300,000 square foot parking structure with over 1,000 parking spaces.
All right, so is it all the part there within the red dotted line?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
That's their 18 acres. And then as soon as that is underway, then they begin building a 69,000 square foot medical office building that's 3 stories tall that will assist with private doctors being in there. You won't see beds in there.
Okay.
Medical office building is exactly that. It's where you and I go to consult with our doctor.
Right.
Patient care will be in the second phase of the medical center's expansion.
It's off of Catella, right?
It's right off Catella. It's next to what we call the old brick building.
Okay.
It'll remove almost every parking space where the old brick build between the old brick building and the building adjacent to that, just east.
When was the brick building built?
Wow, you catch me off guard, Larry. I believe it was in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty antiquated. It's it's been rehabbed a few times. But what the expansion of the medical center necessitates is it brings more medical doctors closer to the campus instead of stringing down Catella Avenue.
Now, from a community development, that's a resource for potential business, right? For the surrounding bit, like lunches, meals.
It's an economic powerhouse within itself. Increases our daytime population. That's who eats in our restaurants. That's who buys their groceries before they leave
So what
home.
is our daytime population?
Daytime population, I just did this in the general plan, is 28,000. And that includes all the employers and all the school districts as well.
So we're basically growing, by 300%.
Yeah, during the day.
Or 200, I guess 200.
But you could see it in our streets. It
Yeah.
does have impact, positive and, and some people may say negative.
No, but it's a great resource to have there. I think if somebody taps into it with the right plan, the right idea, it should be good.
Absolutely, and that's what this plan does. It locks together a vision for the whole property, so we don't get surprised 10 years down the line when something else comes up. We know what their build-out is going to be.
Are you trying to, that parking structure, make it so it can be utilized by the general public as well?
It will. The hospital will allow and make it available for anyone wanting to purchase spaces within it. Yeah.
So what else you got going?
Well, we got a lot of things going on. I want to talk about some of the residential things we got
I want to talk about what you want to talk about, Steve.
Okay.
So the residential, tell me.
Let's talk about Olson. Olson Properties is developing
Sausalito Walk, right?
Yep, 17 homes right within our city, 17
Okay.
brand new homes. The first track of homes in over 20 years at the end of Oak. Under construction now. The model should be open in the middle of next month.
What was the last tract?
It was also Olson. It was on the other side of the creek, almost in Long Beach. It was a shared project between Long Beach and our city.
Oh, the bungalows?
Yeah, the bungalows was their last
Okay.
project.
Yeah, and that's that strange little property there because when they straightened out the riverbed, when they made a channel, so the line now doesn't follow the river.
Yeah, we call those remnant parcels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So half of it's because I know the property line goes right down the like the dining room of some properties.
Right,
Yeah.
it does, you're right.
So Sausalito Walk. You told me that you named a street there because of.
Yeah, we found in Larry's book, and everyone knows Larry's book that's out right now, we found an old hotel called the Harmona Hotel, and we needed a name for a street within this tract, so we decided to name it Harmona. So I want to thank you and take the opportunity to thank you. And also, it allows us an opportunity to reestablish history in our city.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so now you got Sausalito Walk, and that's how many units again, did you say?
17 single-family detached homes.
Okay. And so what else can you do in the city at this point? I mean, because there are limitations, obviously. So much land is taken up by the airbase.
You are, but
no longer an airbase.
But you are seeing the redevelopment of properties. You saw McDonald's last year. This year, you'll see the northwest corner of Ball and Bloomfield will become a Chase Bank, and the liquor store will transform into a 7-Eleven. And that's exciting. That's revenue for the city and the school district. Increased property taxes brings increased revenues. And when people improve their properties, it increases the property value.
Okay, big question. Spin Pizza.
Yeah, Spin Pizza. Excited about that. We have a well-known restaurateur, Craig Hoffman, who runs Lucille's and Hofset. Will be operating his third chain of restaurants, a pizza restaurant. He's bought a franchise out of Kansas City and will be turning our old Shakey's, also known as Trainwreck, into Spin Pizza. Construction should begin this summer. He should have blueprints on my desk next week.
Now, it's kind of a mixed process because that property is owned by Harold Rothman, who owns Catella Deli, or is the majority owner of Catella Deli. He owns it with his brothers, and former owner of the fish company.
Yes.
And so he's done some good things with properties in town. That should be exciting.
It's a reinvestment in our community, and we're always happy with that. And Harold has also mentioned the possibility of doing a little remodeling at Catella Deli. So we're excited about that reinvestment.
Now, I understand that, was it Harold or was it the people with Hoffs told me that the entrance is maybe going to be on the back side?
There's going to be two entrances, one on the back. As you know, we did that undergrounding street improvement project in the back to kind of turn some of those businesses out to the alley, and this will be the first one to fully take advantage of that.
One last thing, I know we're getting close to our time segment here, but Trend. You guys did a Trend Printing. A lot of people don't know it. It's the third largest print in the United States.
Yes.
And you helped them out a lot there. I know they've been very grateful to the city.
We've been working diligently on their expansion efforts of getting a new press and working towards their ability to have the power for that. So we've been working closely with Southern California Edison. And you've probably seen some of the traffic on late Fridays that you may not want in our city, but there is a necessity in keeping a business up and going and expanding within our community.
Are they upgrading the lines, giving it more power? So
it's necessary. They've tapped out all the power they had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to learn stuff.
Thank you very
I'll
much,
be back.
Larry.
There's a lot of stuff going on around here.
Yeah, there is. We're excited about that.
Okay, great. Steve Mendoza, Director of Community Planning and Public Works.
Director of Community Development and Public Works.
All right, I'll get it right tonight.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back. Nonprofit world after this. Welcome back to A Great Place to Live in spite of itself. And I was just telling them that one of the reasons it's a great place is that we have so many active nonprofits and active parent groups, PTA. With us are two representatives of those very active groups, Nina DiMatteo, former Hopkinson PTA, and then now with We Care, and Trish Ordaz, who's with Lee. Let's go with you got the carnival coming up this, right?
Yes, we have our carnival coming up next Saturday, April 27th from 11 to 4, and it's one of our larger PTA fundraisers for the school. We're hoping to raise money. We supplement field trips, art master's programs, school supplies, anything that the teachers need in light of the budget cuts. We help them in funding. So this is one of our biggest fundraisers.
Is this like a half of your fundraising for this, or do you have any idea what it's?
It's probably
Just because I'm
represents.
nosy, I like to know these things.
I don't know. I would probably say a third. But it's also a great time for our community to come together and to come together with the Lee students and community and be out and enjoy a great day.
Well, you got your little brochure there, but you want to turn it around so we can Paul can give us a little shot of it if possible. It's like, there you go. Oh, the lead leopards, right?
We're the Lee Leopards.
And so you have the Spring Carnival, April 27th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Right.
And so you have a lot of stuff in that.
Yes, we do. We have inflatables, we have games, we have carnival games. The kids have a blast. We're having a photo booth, a dunk tank. They get to dunk the principal and all their favorite teachers. And we also have a big part of it is a silent auction. We have baskets that are themed. So even if you don't have kids, you can come out and do a lot of Mother's Day shopping, Father's Day shopping for your grandkids.
Every parent's nightmare.
Every
having to put together the silent auction basket.
That's right. And the teachers also donate time where they're taking students out to either lunch in the park, a special day with them for 3 or 4 students, and the kids, parents get a bid on that as well for special time with where their student's teacher.
Now you're doing this. You're the chair of the carnival. You had a hiatus. You had an older child who went through the system over at Weaver now, and you're at Lee. What's that like when you've been gone for quite a while? And you had a real life and had some time to yourself, and now you're back
in.
in?
Myself, but now it's back. I have two children at Lee, and it has been, this PTA has been very active. So I've been very, very busy with fundraising and just donating time at school.
Well, that's good. Now, Nina, you went through the wars over at Hopkinton, right?
Yes.
You were involved with them, and then also soccer. It's like I've said before, one of the more successful AYSO soccer coaches around.
I don't know if you could call it coaching or just a successful cheerleader.
The teams won a lot. That's all I remember.
Yeah, they did. But I was blessed with a lot of great kids. But you have a good community, you get great kids. I mean, that needs to be said. I think one of the big things is that you make everyone feel special, like they can do it, and they will perform. They will do it. So, I mean, that's my key to success.
Well, you kind of carried it over because you've been involved with nonprofits as well, and the nonprofits have done. Do you kind of carry the same philosophies, just like?
I do. I after moving from Hopkinton, I moved over to Oak, and I was there for a long time doing their biggest fundraiser, which was the magazine drive. And then I kind of laid low for a while, kind of thinking, where am I going to go? I tried the sports and stuff, and I kind of landed over at We Care, which is a nonprofit homeless prevention, and it's quite possibly one of the best things I've ever done. I brought my family along. We all volunteered together, and you don't really get anything out of it. I mean, you're volunteering for the school, which you're doing a lot for a lot of the kids, right? I mean, we're volunteering our time and your efforts and your money and everything, and it goes to the entire school. But you see that happening, and you see what's coming from it. And the thing about We Care is that you don't really see who it's happening to. You don't see who you're helping, whose utilities you just paid, or whose rent you just helped out with. You do it just knowing that you're doing it because it's coming from the heart, just straight from the heart, for no other reason than that. And that's such a great thing in today's world. It's just helping people.
Well, you mentioned From the Heart. That's the name of their fundraiser that you just chaired. And how well did it do this year?
Oh, phenomenally well. We made $85,000 in one night, and it's one of those charities where you ask people to give, and they give from the heart so fast. I mean, it is amazing. And this was my first time chairing it. I've come in from people that have done it for the last 7 years, and they've just they really just set it up. I really didn't have to do anything other than just keep it going, and people so willingly jumped in and just took off. It was really, it was an amazing event.
Well, but fundraising never stops, does it?
No, it keeps on going. In fact, we're coming up for May 5th, which is over at the Rossmore Community Festival, and we will have the High Heel Dash again this year. It's our second annual, and it's actually kind of fun. I've got 3 boys myself, and then we sponsor as many kids as we can into the High Heel Dash. So the boys from the soccer team will come over, strap on their crazy high stiletto heels, and run, which is. And I got to tell you,
and they're getting higher all the time.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I brought in like a pair of pumps, and they're maybe something like this or whatever. And I'm like, what do you think of these? They're like, Mom, I was kind of hoping for something a little higher. I'm like, all right, you asked for it. So now they're blingy stilettos. And what we do is we cut the heel off. Out the back, so their foot kind of sticks out the back, and then we use ribbon.
The strap at the back, okay.
Yeah, so we use a ribbon to kind of strap them around the ankle and everything, and they're pretty sturdy in them, and they move fast. It's shocking. I think they walk better than a lot of girls I know.
Maybe they've had practice. I don't know.
I'm hoping to see you out there with a pair. Not just with the camera, man. I want to see you in heels this year. All right. This is it. Well, I will bring your shoes for you.
It's good to have some hopes. All right, so you're doing that. Then do you have any other events going on, or what?
Well, we're planning on, jumping in with you on the Sugar Beet
Right.
Festival. So keep that going. We're kind of mostly right now going into an awareness type mode where we just want to keep people aware the more they know about us. Literally, the more people know about us, the more they want to give to us. And that's the great thing about it.
Well, fundraising is a term
Yeah.
I've heard a lot.
Yes.
Your fundraising is an
Yes.
essential part in fundraising. I mean, it's the same thing with the PTA?
Yes, we have, in addition to the PTA, we have our nonprofit group, Project LEAP. And that has a huge fundraiser in the fall that helps to support our part-time media center teacher for Lee. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any funding for it. So
Do you
that's
have
a
two
huge-
different functions? Have you guys
Yes.
decided amongst yourself the PTA money is going to go
Yes.
towards this? And
Yes.
so what is the differentiate? Is it just the media center or what?
The media center, and they were also able through our fall fundraiser to, we have now 40 iPads that are on carts
nice.
that are being taken to the classroom so the kids can learn real time and applications about science, about various things. And so the teachers build a lesson around it. And without that fundraiser, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So it's been great. And it's used every single day through every one of our classrooms.
Technology. This is always like it always scares me because you remember like about 4 years ago, smart boards
Right.
were the
Yes.
big thing. Everybody had to have a smart board, and then iPads come along, and now iPads like.
I don't know if they can improve from an iPad. I mean, they probably, I'm probably, as I'm sitting here right now, it's already been improved. But it seems like they've pretty much got this technology. I mean, it's definitely down there. One thing that for her, that you guys should really know is that PTA, you can't just blindly fundraise for PTA. For every fundraiser you do, you have to have 3 things that benefit the school and the kids. So they bring in nonprofit organizations so that they can bring in these other things for the school that the school doesn't actually fund. So
you were
it's
actually
really,
in PTA, so you know these things.
yeah, I mean, it's really a tricky thing to do this. And I mean, you guys are doing such a great job. I mean, just keeping the kids all active and with their technology and everything. The two of them really need to run together. So I mean, it's really a great thing.
Okay, before we wrap up, I'm going to give you each a chance to make your pitch to the camera on your event. So, Trish, you go first.
We would like to invite the entire Los Alamitos community out next Saturday, April 27th, from 11 to 4 at Lee Elementary on Foster Road. So please come and join us.
And Nina?
Okay, well, I would like to invite everybody out to the Rossmore Community Festival on Cinco de Mayo, which is May 5th. It's a great event. They got all kinds of food trucks coming in. It's going to be awesome. But I would really like to encourage you to come out and bring your high heels and enter into our high heel dash. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, where do they sign up for that? Can they sign
They
up on
can
the
sign
spot?
up on the spot, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and you can go to our website, which is
It's on the WeCare site, right?
yeah. And check us out, or just show up on site. You're going to want to be there anyways. I mean, they got a great festival going on. I mean, this is a really great job that the Rossmore homeowners do. So
All right, great. Well, thank you for joining us, both of you. Had a good time. Nina De Matteo, Trish Ordaz, and remember, there's always a nonprofit out there needing your help, needing your appreciation.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more of the show. Christine Braun and Tammy Avila. All right, we are back with A Great Place to Live in Spite of Itself, and I'm here with Christine Braun and Tammy Avila of Aegean Designing Whims and Tamara Renee Designs. So, all part of the same building right there on Cerritos. And
Yes.
you were there for you've been there a long time, right, Christine?
We've been there a long time. We were on the other side of the parking lot, and then we came to this side and decided just to be one space.
Oh, you were originally over there where the Charity League's
we were
attic is
there,
now?
and then we ventured over onto the other side for offices, and then decided it was like having 2 households, and I can't keep them clean. So we kind of conglomerated.
So, you go back to 1970? Is that when you opened it?
1970 is when we actually started
Okay.
Aegean as floor coverings, doing insurance restoration.
Really? That's how
Yeah.
it started.
Yeah.
And when did you get into the actual design? part?
Probably about 20 years ago. We decided to.
Just got bored with the restoration?
Well, it got very political, so we decided to open to the public and not let anyone control us, and so that was what we decided to do, and then just kept going, and as customers would say, can you do this? We'd say, well, why not? So we kind of evolved into a big company.
Did you always have kind of that creative side to you that you wanted, or you wanted to explore, or just is it just some kind of developed and you realized after a while, I kind of like this?
Well, it's funny, I never knew what I wanted to do when I was growing up. I just started working for my parents, which often people do, get me off the streets, and then I decided I really love it. I love buildings, I love interiors, I love remodeling, so it was just a natural flow. I kind of figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up about 5 years ago.
And you've had a lot of people come in and out. And Tamara here, you started working there when? As a student, was it?
I was 19. I just found out or decided I wanted to be an interior designer. Happened to be bike riding in the neighborhood with my mom, and I've lived in Cypress since I was 9. So I was part of, familiar with the area, and went into this place, and I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. How can I get my foot in the door? So I talked to Christine, and I said, I'm a student. I know absolutely nothing about interior design, but I'm interested. I'm eager to learn, and where do I start? And she hired me, I think, the next day or within the same day. It's real quick.
A very, very tight hiring
Yeah, she said,
procedure.
yeah, so I started, in the front and ringing customers up, and after 3 weeks, Christine must have seen a little more to me and let me out there and assist customers with, furniture and carpeting and fabrics, and just kind of took off since then.
So what year was this when you started?
God, now you're gonna make me do math. So I'm 31 today.
I didn't ask that question. I'm trying to be nice, but happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
19.
So 12 years ago. About 12 years ago.
So about after 6 years or so, that's when you decided you wanted to kind of separate?
After our daughter trying to decide what she wanted to be, we decided, or she did, that she'd like to take on the kitchen and bath remodeling side of our business. And Tammy was the perfect person to continue with the interior design department. So that's when I asked her if she would be interested in that part. And then we would be in the same place, but we would focus on one, and I'd try to get that ready for our daughter. And Tammy has run with it since then. And
yeah, so it's been about 2 years since we kind of did a partnership. I wouldn't call it a partnership legally, but partnership as in we definitely work together. And Christine and I have had a lot of the same, a lot of same opinions on things, and just with the client base and where I wanted to be when I grew up, it was a perfect match. And she asked me if I'd take it over, and I said, well, of course, I'd love to. And it's been 2 years since.
And a baby.
2 years, a baby later, and it's been
the baby. I thought we were going to be able to see the baby today too.
I know, he was almost going to be here, but we got a babysitter, so otherwise he would have been, all around. But yes, it's been an exciting 2 years, definitely. Owning a business, turning 30, and having a baby all at once. It's been a learning process and the most exciting time of my life. So I wouldn't change it.
Well, we're just talking, and I asked you what's hot, and you go like, everything's hot. What isn't hot, I guess. So is that difficult for you as designers?
I get that. A lot of customers will say, well, what's colors in, and what's trendy, and I don't really like to design that way. I think especially now with the economy being how it's been, people are a little more conservative, so I always tell customers, go with what you like, go with what you know. People are going to keep things for a little bit longer than they used to, so something a little bit more classic, a little more modern, not so stuffy anymore, but something that they can live with for a lot longer is what I try to steer them towards. Anything too trendy,
it goes out
of style, and it needs to be, they need to stay true to their heart and go with what they like, not what's in.
You had a comment on your website. It's like comparing big box merchandise with. Are there sometimes?
What's the difference?
Yeah, are there sometimes a different sale to the big boxes? It's made just for that market.
There are some products that are packaged for big box stores, and they don't have all the bells and whistles. Where if you buy from a retailer, then the retailer tends to get a little better product, but the big box has to have a product that they can sell for less. So you think you're getting the same thing, and you may not be able to notice the difference. What you get, the difference between a big box store and a retailer, is you get the retailer. You get a personal experience, someone who's there every time you go in, someone that you can talk to if you have issues or problems. And that is what the difference is, and you're not really paying any more money. You just think you are paying less by going to a big box store.
One of the things that you've done very graciously, you've opened your store to a lot of the nonprofits. I mean, we care every year, but other nonprofits as well. I mean, I think you're doing another one this month and next month.
We're doing for COA, which is Christian Outreach and Action. They actually go the step beyond We Care. They feed the homeless. They offer classes and housing and things. So we're having our second annual car show Thursday, May 25th. And so then all the money goes to the nonprofit. So that's a great way to get people in. We hope to have about 100 guests and cars.
Well, and then right across your old office building,
Right.
you have houses Miss Charity's Attic, which
Miss
is the National
Charity's
Charity
Attic,
League, right?
right.
And We Care is right across there too.
So we sort of, I don't know how we've tended to go that way, except that if I had money, I would definitely say, you know what, these are people I could help. If I had a lot of money, we do what we can, and it's just everything helps. It's what is it? It takes a village.
Does
to
take
help?
a village.
Yeah.
This community, you've been around it quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
How's it? Just what's your assessment of it?
I think it's a great area. We are tons of houses that have great people in them. Everybody needs something done in their house, which is perfect for us. And it's just a great community to raise your children, and people know it. So I think we're very lucky to be here.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us. I also want to thank you because as you watch these shows, this is like a work in progress.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Tamara Ray Designs and Designing Whims, we're going to see how we can actually make this look like a real TV studio.
Sounds like a great idea.
So we look forward to seeing what ideas you have because it can't be any worse than what I've done here. So
You'd be surprised.
it
but
looks
no,
great.
It won't.
Kirk did some great lighting here for
Yes.
us. So anyway, we'll look forward to your stuff
Stay
in the
tuned.
future. Stay tuned. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Tammy Avila and Christine Braun, and we'll be back.
Okay, thank
with
you.
more of It's a, whatever our title is, a great place to live in spite of itself. All right, welcome back. A great place to live in spite of itself, and I'm here with our mystery guest, Troy Edger. We weren't quite sure if you'd make it. You had a meeting in Fullerton and all that, but we're glad you could make it here.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're just talking. Your real life job, because you don't only do Los Alamitos stuff. It's like, why don't you explain a little bit what you do?
Well, I own two companies. I have a construction company that my brother runs for me day to day. So about 35 people. Operates Orange County, San Bernardino, San Diego County. We do underground boring and excavation, so I own a lot of heavy equipment. And then I have a management consulting firm. We do strategy and operational consulting for Fortune 500 companies. So we have about anywhere between 20 to 60 people, and we work with the corporations if they're trying to consolidate or get rid of certain divisions. And so my background was with PricewaterhouseCoopers doing that, and when we sold off to IBM, I started my own firm in 2001.
So does that particular skill set, is that good coming into public government, or sometimes is it frustrating because you can't do things?
No, you know what? Actually, consulting is a great skill set to get into public service because you learn in consulting you have to be very quick study of what the situation is. You have to read stuff but not get caught in the details, and you have 100% visibility when you're in public office, but you really have zero decision making by yourself. So you have to use the power of influence and try to get folks on board with data and facts, and hope that they come along. And when they don't, you got to try and find ways to do it, and that's what I do for a living.
The power of influence. That's almost like the key word that I've never been able to master, but. But coming into government, it's like you said you had to be a quick study. They throw a lot of paperwork at you. I'm always amazed at how much stuff the council member has to read.
Yeah, you know what? It's really to the level that you want to commit time to it. So I've been on city council with members that I didn't feel prepared completely, and then when you get into those discussions, they're at a very high level. Or you get in with people that get their questions answered up front, and you get into a lower level. If you add that on to other areas in public service, like I'm on this Orange County Sanitation District too, and I'm the chairman of that board, and it, so every 2 to 3 weeks, I'm getting 3 to 4 inches worth of reading material to go through, and being the chair, I've got to facilitate the organization through that.
One of the things I appreciate is, because I don't read all the agendas, this is too, but if I'm watching online, because I have no life, but you frame an issue. I think you generally try and put something in perspective before you get into your opinion. Is that based on your work?
That's my background. I figure I have a better shot at trying to influence my fellow colleagues on the council if they understand at least the context of the decision we're going to make. They may not agree with the final conclusion, and that's the one thing that I've really enjoyed about being in public service is people, even you and I've had discussions where you're like, Troy, how could you go down that path? I feel I owe people the discussion to let them know what the process is that I went through to reach my decision. But in the end, I have to reach a decision based on the facts and the data that I have. And I think as long as you can explain that and be accountable for that, I think that after that, if you make enough bad decisions, you won't be in office anymore.
What do you think? Because a lot's happening in Los Alamitos, lots happening. Small city, we're affected by, not only what's happening here, but obviously around us. Is the Cypress thing probably one of the biggest things going on, you think, right now? The biggest issue facing Los Alamitos?
Yeah, I do. I think that I think it's one of the biggest things going on because it feels to a lot of people in the city that surprised, and and I think that at the beginning, even myself, if you went to the state of the city when I was the mayor last year, one of my biggest items was, I want to maintain our relationships with our fellow cities. I've invested a lot of time being on the council with Cypress and Seal Beach and Garden Grove and Rossmore and all these areas. We want to try and have relationships. So when you get into a situation like this, you're supposed to be the guy that was talking about having the relationships, and the people in the city are going, you need to protect us. At that point, too, you need to be, in my role, I have to be careful that, I do have to remember who put me in office. And you need to make sure that you send clear messages to the community that you fully understand the issue, and you need to, I think, clearly communicate where you stand on the position on this issue. And so for me, it was really important to get out early to say, understand people are surprised. I am surprised myself that I haven't had the level of interaction that I would have expected from from some Cypress, from the business owners that going through this. But that being said, I'm going to stay focused on the facts, and at the end of the day, Los Alamitos needs to prevail in this because there's just too much at stake.
Do you find in dealing with other cities, I mean, generally the staffs are very professional, right? It's like, so you can object to them, you can say this is not right, but you still maintain good relationships overall?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. In one moment I'm in the dais saying, we will protect Los Alamitos at all costs. And, I'm very familiar with the procedures and the policies and the law of what we can actually do with this project in Cypress. And no matter what I say, 2 days later, I'm with Mayor Prakash in Cypress in another meeting for a county board where I've got to be able to go to him and say, hey, look, I really need your vote to help get something done in Los Alamitos. Are you with me? So you need to be able to temper yourself to the extent that you can, but you need to make sure people know where you stand.
What would be one issue that, you've been on the council now six years, right? Mm-hmm. What would be one issue that you've really had a passion, you would really like to have the city address, the council address, over the course of all these years, has just been kind of dwelling?
Yeah. You know what? I would put it in the category of economic development, but I put a tremendous amount of time into the downtown revitalization, and I think that even right now, current Mayor Kusumoto and myself, we have a lot of areas where we potentially disagree with things, but I think we both see an opportunity there, and I think that if I was to be able to, really focus on something that I'd hope to be able to achieve for the economic benefits of that, it would be to revisit that and to get away from this perception in the community that it was just about narrowing streets and making it hard to get to Los Al High, and turn it more into, look at what Prevesa just did at their restaurant. By adding a garden patio out in their parking lot, looking into nothing yet. Look what the hospital's about ready to do. Once that construction goes into effect on the hospital expansion, I think psychologically it will change our community's perspective of what our city could be when they start seeing $200 million invested in our local community.
I was just talking to Steve Mendoza a little early on because I come at it from doing the Taste of Los Al. I'm aware of restaurants, and I started looking at it and going you have a lot of restaurants, right? You mentioned Prevesa, you have Madeira's, you have Hoff's, you have Nick's Burritos, And from restaurants, I'm thinking like that hospital has a lot of people who need to eat lunch during the day,
and get dry cleaning and pick up stuff for their kids. And yeah, I think I advocated for that. It only passed on a 3-2, but I think the most important part is I think that when people see that construction starting and a 5-level parking garage, which starts to handle some of the big issues that we're dealing with traffic, I think it will change the mindset. And I think also being in public office, even the Rossmore issue, right? You only got a short amount of time that you're in office. You got to try to advance things for the people that come after you. And so I feel good that we've laid out a plan for downtown. People knew that we were serious about it, and if I can find support on the council at some point to revisit that, especially as I believe the economy starts picking up, I'm very interested in trying to move forward with that.
You brought up Rossmore, and I know that was a touchy subject with you, but as I'm looking at it, basically, Los Alamitos, Rossmore, even Seal Beach, we're already sharing probably 75% of the dollars that make up a community between the school district, which is the biggest chunk, of the whole pie, but youth sports and all the churches and flood control district and libraries and things like that, fire control. Are there other areas that the cities could combine and save some money? It doesn't have to be joining their governments totally. But.
Yeah, no, the biggest area of opportunity is when you ask what do you think the biggest issue is it Cypress? I think one of the biggest issues that affects both of our communities right now is the prison relocation, or as they've realigned the prison system and they've let a lot of the offenders out that were lower level offenders. We're seeing a tremendous amount of increase in local crime. And so when you look at that, Los Al Police Department's right across the street from Rossmore. There's areas of opportunity to work together. And I'm not saying we need to be subcontracting in there, but I would really like to be able to do like we do with Westcom.
So have the sheriffs join Westcom?
Sheriffs join Westcom, or find a creative way to do more community policing between the two areas. We've just invested $90,000 from the city council to make sure that we can put a resource officer in at the school, and I think that shows a partnership with Seal Beach. So I think there's a lot. Like I said, that is this time of 4 to 5 years. We'll see what happens, 5, 15, 20 years out. But I think there's a tremendous opportunity, and I still believe that. Even though I was not successful in the first part of that, I was a Rossmore resident for 5 years. My kids grew up in these schools, and I not until I moved to Los Al did I really feel that there was a difference between being in Los Al or Rossmore.
Well, I know when I saw you, I guess with the Chamber of Commerce, you did almost an impromptu presentation of the state of the city about 2 years ago. I was extremely impressed by that, and I'd love to talk to you about more things. Unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but
sure.
I'd love to have you come back and we can just talk, because there's so many things that this community has in common.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, Troy, thank you very much for joining us on our first show here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and we'll have you back again for sure. And you can rake me over and show me how much I don't know about this community.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing. I just want to tell you congratulations. I was in Costco last week. I seen that there's have your book in there, and I was one of the first big supporters of your book.
You were. Thank you very much for that.
I just want to tell you congratulations. I think I'm very excited to see what comes. I can't wait till you catch up from 1960 to current.
Well, I can't either. I got to read them.
There you go.
So I don't want to make you enemies, so I don't know if I should write it or not.
Somebody needs to, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry.
All right. Well, thank you very much for Troy, and everybody's been on our first show here. Great place to live in spite of itself. I'm Larry Strother, and we'll see you next week on A Great Place to Live in Spite of Itself. And maybe by then I'll have a better time.